Can we be friends? Can we be friends? Can we be friends? Can we be friends? Can we be friends?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Can We Be Frank, where the whiskey may be on ice, but the talk is always straight up.
Very straight up, yes.
Yeah, there we go. I was like, we need like a secondary catchphrase there. That'll work.
There we go.
Mike has established it. That's great. Let's dive right into it. Again, if you're not familiar or you're new to the show, we usually like to start off with a mystery topic where one of us comes up with a topic that the other two have no idea about. That way they can give their on-the-spot, frank opinions about it without researching it or giving it too much thought. We just want to kind of get their opinions live on the
On the spot.
on the spot. So,
Yep.
Mike, go ahead.
So, okay, celebrity conventions there's like a big thing now, right? Like
Right.
a lot of these celebrities realize how much money they can make by connecting with their fans, and they go around and they're really all over the world now. And I remember when there were only a few of them, and there's a ton of them now. Anyway, celebrities are appearing, and most of them are cash only, and they're charging a lot of money for their autograph. But you got to consider they're paying a lot of other people to help them, and their agents and their managers and their booking managers and all of that. But one thing I saw recently was at one of the cons is one of the stars is accepting Venmo now, but charging $3 service charge per item that you buy. And I feel like that's nickel and diming your fans. Like I said, I can kind of understand the increase in price, because otherwise people would go to eBay and sell it for that anyway. But I just feel like a service charge on that, especially $3 per item. So if you go up and you buy 3 autographs, you're paying $9 more on top of the $150 or $180 that you've just spent for the signature that they're going to give you, and maybe the 2 minutes or 5 minutes, if you're lucky, that you get to spend in their presence. So is it right? Is it wrong? What do you guys think?
Well, before we dive into that, I just want to let everybody know, if they're not familiar with conventions, historically they've been a cash only type thing.
Oh, yeah.
I know as of late, in the past, 10 years maybe, the debit card, credit cards, almost everywhere else, that's all, nobody carries cash anymore, except for at these conventions. It just was a cash thing that carried over, and
For business, for the vendors that are there and the celebrities
it was
that are
all
there.
about cash, because it's a pop-up market. It makes it simple for the people collecting the money and whatnot. So it's always been a cash business. So, you're really breaching the norm by even offering Venmo.
Right.
And I do think it's a nice service to offer someone, because I don't like carrying cash.
I don't carry cash either. I agree.
But this is where I kind of disagree with you. It didn't bother me as much in the convention that they charged that little bit of extra, because it was historically a cash business. They're providing me with something new,
A convenience.
a convenience, and I'm okay with paying the convenience in that sense. It just didn't rile me up as much.
So you don't think that's like part of the business, though? Like that
Well,
that's
that's why I
not
think
just a
where
cost of
we get into
business.
a little bit of a difference here, where Mike and I, because he knows that I don't like when what I'm going to call normal businesses do that upcharge. I went even as far as to write the Secretary of State of California a complaint letter about a local ice cream establishment, because I got mad that they upcharged me for using my credit card to buy my ice cream cone. They charged me like $1. And I went home and I read that that's not legal. So I reported it to the state. Got a nice letter back in the mail from the Secretary of State, basically letting me know, thank you for your letter, but there's nothing we can do about it. It turns out, while it is against our law, apparently someone's taken it to the Supreme Court, and it's currently in flux as to whether it's okay to do upcharges for credit cards like that. So they basically said, we can't do anything. Thanks for your letter, but we're not going to do anything. So, it's important to me. It does rile me up. But for some reason, when you told me that story before about the celebrity charging, just didn't bother me. I was like, it's a one-off experience. It's normally a cash business. It's a convenience. I don't mind paying the extra $3 there. But at a traditional business open to the public, like an ice cream stop or a grocery store or anything like that, if you're going to charge me extra, it should just be part of doing business. That's the business's expense to eat. Raise your price then, as much as it sucks. Just do it. But for some reason, I wasn't triggered by like a one-off event, like that convention.
Well, I have questions.
Okay.
So on Venmo, are you is the person charged a percentage? Is there a fee, a transaction fee?
That's a good question. I wonder.
Okay. To answer that, I think I can answer that. I believe between friends and family, it's free transactions, Venmo. But if you want some sort of consumer protection about refunds,
Right.
there's an option for this as a business transaction, and there is a fee charged
Sure.
when you do it then. So like if you paid for lunch and you wanted me to reimburse you,
Right.
between friends and family, it's free for me to send you Venmos.
And he wouldn't get charged either.
No,
Right,
neither
right.
of us would get charged. But if you bought something off me and I didn't know you, and I wanted some protection that you're not going to report that as a bad transaction, and you vice versa, you get I don't know, let's say I sold you a printer and then the printer didn't work. If you did the friends and family, there's no protection.
Right.
So when you do it as a business transaction, I believe they do charge fees. So that answers that question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm kind of with you. Well, I'm with both of you. I think it comes across as a little petty, I think, to charge a convenience fee for Venmo. But I understand them needing to recoup maybe some of the service fee. So like you said, and this probably isn't right either, I would just raise my prices
Right.
across the board
Right.
to compensate. $3, $5,
Yep.
an item. And unfortunately, the people paying cash are now being punished. But
Yep.
yeah, or I wouldn't charge. But I think, charging just the people who are using Venmo. But I can also see your point. It is a convenience. I would gladly pay the $3.
Me too. That's that's not my argument either. Because
Okay.
I agree with you. I would totally pay
But
that
you think they
$3 for that
shouldn't?
convenience.
It shouldn't.
For me,
they're
it's-
making it. They have enough of a profit margin.
In
that-
my opinion, yes, I think so. If you're charging $60 for an autograph and you've got to pay 2/3 of that out, you're still going to make $20 for 5 minutes of your time, effectively.
Right.
And I feel like, okay, if you can, and you probably would split that $3 fee. And I don't think it would be $3, like the actual charge, because I think it's 3.9% or something plus a flat fee.
But when you're Katie Segal, how do you say her name? Katie Segal. When you charge $100 for an autograph, it might be $3, 3%.
Well, that's true, 3%. Yeah, so maybe
it's a crazy amount. But when I wrote that letter about the law, it is legal because you see gas stations do it
all the time.
You can offer two different prices,
Cash and credit.
and you can offer a cash discount where the law, as it was written, is you can't upcharge for credit cards. So it was the manner in which they were doing it that I wrote the letter to the Secretary of State, even though it got tied up in litigation. Apparently,
So
they're
it
still
sounds like
fighting.
semantics to some
It is.
degree.
It is a little bit of semantics, but it's more like your advertised price needs to be what it is. You can't charge someone more, but you could say, it's $60 if you pay cash, $65 if you don't. If you'd word it that way, technically, under the old rules, it would have been legal anyway. Would you have felt any different if they offered a cash discount?
That's a very interesting thing, right?
That's
Because
all head games.
It
It's
is
the
all
same
head
thing.
games, right? Yeah, and I think I would still feel like
that's interesting.
in this case, like for businesses, I completely get it, and I know this is just faulty thinking on my part, but like. And these celebrities, for all intents and purposes, are businesses because it's what they're doing. It's how they're going around to these cons and making money off of this, lots of money. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, but I think in my head, as weird as it is, and it's not right, but like doing what you just said there would make me feel better than saying, hey, there's a $3 service charge per.
And that's probably why the law was the way it was, because it
It's
is
weird.
a
I
mental
don't
thing.
know.
It makes
Yeah.
people feel better. It also has to do with your stated price is your stated price. Offering a discount is very different than
Yeah,
charging an upcharge.
For me, I just go to like the what they're buying in this case, which is an autograph of a celebrity. So there's no cost going into him signing that besides the Sharpie
His time
and his time,
Right.
which, I don't know how these conventions work because I've never run one, but I believe a lot of them get an appearance fee on top of that. So they're already getting compensated. Their flights are being paid for. Their hotel rooms are being paid for. So it's like there's no outlay of anything besides their time and their energy. And I do agree. I understand it's a long day of standing up and taking pictures and being on. Like I would be exhausted. So I completely respect that element of it.
I still think $100 is ridiculous.
For
so
for
that's
like I
moving
said,
on to a completely separate issue, which is just
you
their
got somebody
prices are
like
outrageous.
Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund. He has a line wrapped around the building, and so they need to move the people through so everybody can get through. So you're not spending. I mean, I know he's very good with his fans. So he does spend a little bit of time with them, but it's not like you can spend quality time or even like get some questions answered. Maybe you get a question answered, but it's not any significant amount of time. It's a minute to maybe 5 minutes if you're lucky. Because like Nick, when Nick goes to these cons, he finds the celebrities that aren't necessarily higher end celebrities, that they are people that he wants to call out for specific roles, and he'll have that long conversation, and he feels that it's very worth the money that he's spending, and I can appreciate that. I think a lot of people pay not only for the autograph, but then they pay for this pro photo op, and that's literally like a conveyor belt of people, because they're just stand, move, stand,
Right.
move, and you're paying $90, $100 for these pro
But
photo
forget
ops.
pro photo ops.
Now selfies
$40
are
for a selfie
Or more.
It's like
Oh, interesting.
$60 for the
Okay.
autograph. And if you want a selfie with them, it's $40. That is ridiculous. Now, but again, in my head, here's where it's horrible. I love to be like one of those people like that, but then I'm one of those people. I got to see the other side, so I'll step back and I think, okay, if everybody takes a selfie, it's going to really slow your line down.
Sure.
So you need to charge something. So I'm a reasonable person. I understand that. I just think $40 is ridiculous. A little bit of, because if you offer anybody something for free, whether they want it or not, they're going to take it.
Sure.
If somebody offers me free something, I'm going to take it, even if I didn't want it. So if a selfie's free, I'd be like, yeah, let me take a selfie.
And that's going to take time.
And
You
it's
got to
gonna
get
take
the
time.
phone to somebody.
But
and
if
all
you
that,
charge
yeah.
just a little bit more for the selfie, it's going to deter me, who doesn't really need one or don't want one because I don't really like photos. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to do it. So you're going to save a little bit of time, but you're not price gouging someone. $40 for a selfie is ridiculous. We could sit there and argue that all day. And those celebrities, I mean, if that's what the market value is, that's what it is.
That's a
the
whole
thing.
other issue,
I think
right?
it's the market value.
I
Right?
guess,
the
but
market
my
dictates.
God. I mean, I guess so.
I
Because
would pay. Listen,
well, we
listen.
did. How much? Do you
But
remember we got John Williams, or not John Williams, John Carpenter that time?
John
we went with
Carpenter.
you.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
We
I-
paid a pretty
paid
penny
a
for
good
that, but we
money.
also got a concert out of it.
Right.
I tell you who I'd pay a mint.
Uh-oh. Who?
Sly.
Ah.
Oh, still,
He's very protective.
I
of his
know.
image.
That's why I would. I'd pay big bucks.
Okay. Yeah.
And if you get one from him, it probably is authentic because they are very
Yeah,
aggressive.
but I'd be for a photograph with him.
like a selfie with him.
a
I
selfie
see.
with Sly.
That'd
Come
be
on,
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
$40.
Ford, he'd probably charge like 100.
Speaking of him, did you see that video, viral video of the little kid giving his quote? And they're
Yes.
standing. That was
Yeah.
so cute.
Rocky Day.
Yeah, the Rocky speech. That was cute.
Yes.
I didn't see that.
Oh,
It was,
super
it was a
cute.
I'll
viral
have to
video.
look
It was
Yeah.
in Philly. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
So
I
don't know. Like I said, like you said, the market is dictating these prices. So it's not necessarily like I disagree with it on another level, but I totally understand why they're charging what they're charging.
Because they can. I guess that's just how it works.
Because they
they
can.
can.
Because they can. And I do agree that the autograph dealers out there, and as a former autograph dealer, like I get that these celebrities felt taken advantage of, because in the past you would go to these cons and you'd pay $25 for an autograph, and dealers would go and they'd buy 10 of them for $250, and then they'd go home and they'd sell them for $100 or whatever. So the celebrities or their managers got smart and were like, okay, we need to start charging this amount.
Right.
And that's fine.
Yeah, but not everybody is a dealer. You're really hurting the
true fans. I agree.
And as a dealer, you can only get so many of them. If I had 1,000, I don't even know. Good. If I had 1,000 autographs of someone, I would charge a lot cheaper.
Sure.
They have an unlimited amount of their autograph.
Right.
It only matters till their arm cramps up. So that's where I'm like, they could market rate is one thing, but when you have an unlimited supply, nearly unlimited supply, there's a time constraint and a muscle constraint. But beyond that, you just keep jetting them out.
Sure.
I think you could make it a little bit more affordable, but then
For
I
your
guess then
fans.
your line goes around the corner.
Right. And how do you deal with that? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't. It's a rough. It just sucks because I know you used to be able to go to those
I
conventions.
remember going, one of the first cons that I went to, I met Dick Warlock, who played Michael Myers in Halloween 2, and Pamela Susan Shoop, who was in Halloween 2. And literally, I remember their autographs were $10
Yeah.
each. And that was great. You went as a fan and you paid your admission fee and you went and you were able to afford all of the celebrities. Now you read these things where they're like, oh my God, I want to meet everybody, but I can't afford more than 2 people or 3 people.
So they were 10 then. What would they be now? Would you
60.
say?
Like Dick Warlock was
Okay.
just at the same con that I saw this $3 service charge for. Now it wasn't him, but he's still cash only. But
six
$60
times.
now, 6 times that.
In the course of what, 30 years? Or?
Well, probably like 20-ish. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah, it is
But-
crazy. How expensive they are.
Yeah, I remember Dick Warlock speaking to him. He was one of the first people that sold autographs on his website back in the day, and I remember it was $6 and $4 for return shipping, so it was still $10. But
Okay.
I remember $6 was what he was charging, and that included the photo. So
To your knowledge, who's the most expensive autograph at a
Like
convention?
the people that actually go to a convention.
Yeah.
well, there's a lot of big names going to these.
It's
these
starting to
shows
be
now.
less taboo for
Like
a
Alec
celebrity.
Baldwin was at
Yeah.
the Steel City Con, which is a big
Yeah,
name.
He's trying
and-
to pay for
Steel
his
City
defense.
Cons in Pittsburgh.
But what does he charge?
Gosh, I don't
Oh,
know.
I'm sure
I
that
actually
was-
don't think he was that terrible. Out of $80 maybe. It wasn't.
I
wasn't.
can't
something-
imagine anybody's over 200.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't.
I know
haven't been
Chris
to a-
Evans was making appearances for a little while, and he may
Okay,
have
that's a
been
big name.
upwards of 500. But
Wow,
oh,
okay.
you know what? Mark Hamill made an appearance recently, and he was charging. I think I sent you the screen grab of that. I forget what it was, but it was a lot. I
was
think it
high.
may have been $1,000 for
Wow.
an autograph for him. I might be wrong
He's
on
a
that,
little.
but it was high.
He's a little. He doesn't like.
He doesn't go to those shows
Shows
very
a lot
often
or
at all.
anything.
So
But I mean, at a normal convention, I mean, like I said,
Yeah, normal.
Katie Seagal was about $100 plus 40 or 50 for a selfie. I remember the last time I was at one, Norman Reedus was at like from Walking Dead, so that's like a mid-level, what I would say,
Sure.
75-ish. Probably up to 90 now,
yeah,
100 if he's even still doing them.
I think he is. Yeah,
But I don't.
I mean, to me, that doesn't seem
yeah.
unreasonable if you're a fan. And
but I think it.
Yeah.
because you would pay something similar to that, like you're
Online.
saying online,
Well, and if
through
you
an
would've-
autograph.
yeah, you would.
I
And you're
agree.
getting a
If you're-
face-to-face
I
experience,
think
and
the-
you know they've indeed
You know
signed
they've
it.
signed it. It's real.
Are they
you were there
okay if you
witnessing.
take pictures of them signing it?
Some are, some aren't.
Okay.
There's some that explicitly state no.
You know.
No,
No
no,
candid,
That's a
like,
fee.
no candid fees.
Yeah.
or
Upcharge. Okay.
And then there's some to make sure you're not selling it. They'll only personalize it. Rest in peace, Adam West was like that.
Okay.
I wanted to get some Batmobiles signed by him, die-cast Batmobiles, but he would only personalize them.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with a to so-and-so. Like,
Yeah.
my name is blank, but anyway, but some of them will only personalize. I understand that if you're getting, we're probably talking too long about this, but if you're outside of an event and they're coming over and signing for free, I get personalizing there. You really want it to go to the person that you're signing it for. But if I'm going to pay you money for it and I ask you not to personalize it,
Right.
I think you should do that.
Yeah.
I'm paying you money. We've exchanged one thing for another. We've made a fair
Right.
exchange.
Mm-hmm.
If I saw them out on the street and he's like, I only sign if I personalize, I get that. You're giving it away for free and I'm going to go do whatever I want with it.
Right.
So that I understand. But if I'm going to pay you for it, I don't do what if I say I don't want it personalized, I don't want it personalized.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't want it because even if I'm not going to sell it for a business thing, when I'm gone, if I have descendants, they may want to sell it. Give them the option,
That's true.
Yep.
I mean, if my name was Tom or Mike or even Robert, maybe you can get away with it. There's a lot of Mike, Tom, and Roberts out there. Derek's middle
Yeah, a little
line.
bit.
A little harder. Although a little dry erase marker will take it right up, though.
Could be Eric.
If it's glossy, yeah.
Yeah, if it's a glossy photo, a little dry erase marker, and then you wipe it right off. But little trick for
Very good.
those autograph collectors. Great, though,
Yeah, like I said, my true argument really was against that service fee but
Yeah.
you made a good point. Like I didn't really think about you're at 3% of $100 is close to that $3 mark. So I guess they are truly charging close to what their
it's costing
spend
them.
is. And
Yeah.
all right,
All right.
that's fine.
We've convinced Mike.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yep.
a
Yeah,
little bit.
you've
We've
convinced me.
softened the heart of
a
Cole.
little bit. Yeah. Made some progress there. Great. Well, let's move on to what our main topic for this episode, which is actually feedback we did get from someone. One of the engineers here at the podcast studio really enjoyed our first episode about networking and breaking into the industry and how that worked. And so now we're thinking, well, you got your foot in the door. How do you stay in the industry? For Mike and I, 10 years is hard. A lot of people will say that's hard. We've known some friends that come out, couldn't do it. They left after a year.
that's
So
right.
10 years is nothing to laugh at.
No.
Well, we're
Robert-
almost 11 now.
Yeah, almost 11. But Robert, you've been in this for
35 years.
35 years. That is a long time. So, 10 years, nothing to laugh at. 35 is very impressive. What, let's talk a little bit about what would you be your number one secret for longevity, like a number one advice? I mean, I have some things I wrote down that
Top of my head,
top of your head.
tenacity over talent.
Okay.
You just have to be tenacious. You just have to not take no. You have to, that's one. Because I've known a lot of talented people that get discouraged, which I totally get. I've been discouraged most of those 35 years, and they drop out. Even though they're so talented, right? But they don't catch the break, or the project doesn't go, or it ends up not happening. There's a lot of disappointment involved
There is.
in between the successes, so you have to hang in there. That's one. Two is no matter what job you have, whatever you're doing at the time. I started as a PA. You are the best frickin' PA to walk the planet.
Yep.
Like, you don't think I'm just a PA. I'm just getting coffee. Or with me, that they didn't have Starbucks, so I was making coffee. I was making. I never heard of a cappuccino, but we had this cappuccino machine I had to learn. But I made the best frothiest, cappuccino any PA had ever made. I lined up the soda bottles in the fridge so that all the labels were faces. I mean, it was like insane.
Right. People notice that, though.
They do notice
do.
that, because then there's the other PAs who they can care less. They're looking at, I want to direct, I want to write, I want. But
This
you're not
is just
doing
a
that
stepping
right now.
stone.
Right now you're a PA, so you got to be the best PA you could possibly be.
Yes.
So it has to be the best at where you are. Tenacity over talent.
One for my list is just
Okay.
don't be an asshole.
Yes.
Be pleasant. Like, it kind of goes hand in hand with yours. Be the best
Yeah,
at your
I
position,
agree.
and don't get ahead of yourself. Don't be full of yourself, and just be a nice person, because you never know who you're working with is going to maybe get ahead first and be able to bring you with them. So
Or vice versa.
or vice versa. So, you just, unless they're really, really bad back to you,
Yes,
try and put your best foot forward personality wise.
I agree.
I think that's, number one, because you never know who's going to be where. You be an assistant, and then he's the, the president of
President of Focus Features.
Focus
yeah.
Features, personally passing
Yes.
on your.
Yeah,
your
or
thing.
on Pray for the Devil.
I don't think you got into that one.
I didn't, but just real quick, this is about like you're
Coming
saying.
full
I don't think I
circle.
was an asshole, but
Okay.
Well,
you can determine this. Oh, gosh, I can try and say this story quickly. So this is back Halloween H2O had just come out, was a success, and I was hired to do a rewrite at Warner Brothers for a big producer at the time, Mark Canton. And the name of the project was House of Secrets. And it was actually a very good project. It was a graphic novel that they were turning into a feature. I was doing a rewrite on it. I do a rewrite, and I believe he was the head of development for Mark Canton's company at Warner Brothers, which is a pretty good position, but it's not like, a studio exec or something. And so we get in the room to take notes, and he's giving me notes on the script. And, when you write something, you know it backwards
Yeah,
and forwards,
it's
like
your
the
baby.
back of your hand. So every note he gave, I could instantly say, why I didn't think it would work, you know, or no, if you do that, then unravels this, or you give me a note and I'd say, I didn't say this, but the tone of, well, did you read the script? Because on page 58, that's exactly what happens. It wasn't said like that, but basically just going through boom, 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 boom. I wasn't the most receptive to the note. So we go through the whole project. You know, I do my thing. My agent calls me and he says, listen, they love the work you did, but they'll never work with you again. And I'm like, what are you talking about? If they love the work they did, because you're too difficult. I said, difficult? He says, do me a favor next time. When you go in for a notes meeting, just listen. Even if you know in the moment that the note they're giving you won't work, don't say anything, because you don't know that, you know, wait a couple days, think about it. Then if you have the same exact reaction 2 days later, you can call and say, listen, I gave it some thought. Here's why I don't think it will work, but maybe this might, or what if we do this? He says, you can't shut them down in the room. Cut to 20 years later, 25 years later, 20 years. We're doing Pray for the Devil. It's sold to Lionsgate. I'm going in for my first big notes meeting at Lionsgate, and they said the vice president of production is going to be in the meeting. I'm like, great. What's his name?
Oh, no.
It was the same guy who was the head of development at the Canton Company, 20 years prior. And I thought, oh boy. So we had the meeting. Meeting actually went great. I wasn't going to bring up because I thought.
Did you learn from it though at this notes meeting? Did you?
Oh, 1,000. This
you've
whole
employed
project.
that. You took that advice from that
1,000,000%.
agent. You've now learned to let me
To the
digest
point.
it.
To the point. And I'm not saying this to brag, but if it's a teachable moment, to the point where the producer on the film called my agent and said, "I never do this." But Robert is the absolute best experience we've had working with a writer. He listens to every note we have. He digests it. If he doesn't address it, he tells us why.
Yeah.
Or if he can't do the exact way, he'll tell us another approach. Like, it's been an amazing experience. So yes, I learned from it.
Great.
That's great. To save anybody any pain, just it's very difficult because you're so, I was 26, I think at the time, 27. You think you know everything, and it is so personal to you. You put your, this is dramatic, but you spill your blood on the page,
Sure. You do.
and a lot of sweat. And so when you sit down and you're expecting some accolades and all you get is criticism, even if it's constructive, and of course that's how they mean it. Everybody's trying to make the best film possible. You need to listen. So I did learn that. But anyways, yes. So I wasn't an asshole. I wasn't receptive.
Sure.
I put up a wall, and that's the last thing people want.
But it was
It's
a great
not to be
learning
heard.
experience. But I feel that, and I want to mention, for me, I'm not a writer. I work at the production level. But the similar approach, as nerdy as this sounds, when you have like a system you've put in place or a way of doing things and distributing notes, distributing assignments, and someone comes in and says, hey, maybe it'd be better if you did this. I feel just as personal of a connection to my system, maybe as you do to your script. So I too have to sit there and be like, let me think about that and see if that can help us all out. And then if I don't want to do it because it would screw somebody else over or slow us down elsewhere, I can give them a proper answer as to why we can't employ that new tactic.
That's fair.
So you can apply that to all different levels of production, creatively and, the production process. That's what I like being able to do is when you learn a life lesson, how can you apply it to something else?
Yes.
And like I said, you can apply that to any number of things. Just take a second, think about, what they're asking, give them a chance.
Yeah.
It is hard to make change. I don't like change, but take a breath, think about it.
So we've got tenacity. We've got don't be an asshole.
Right, and think about it.
We've got be the best you can be at something. I would add to that, have a strong support group.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, friends, family.
Yes. I mean, I have an amazing wife of 35 years, and the same
I'm sure
amount of time I've been in the business.
She's been instrumental to that.
Instrumental because, you can't blame a significant other for not wanting to ride that roller coaster with you. That's not been my experience, certainly, and be perfectly candid, during the first strike, we lost our house.
Wow.
Right. So you lose your home. We ended up losing the same house twice. That's a whole other story. Right.
Well, that's
it's
tenacity there to buy back.
that's a
that thing,
tenacity, and then to lose it again. But it's the ups and downs of the business. So if you don't have someone there saying, "I believe in you," that's okay. Like, so what? We'll rent. So what? Well, this is part of that ride. This is what you want to do. This is your calling. If you don't have that person there
It's
to
willing to
support
ride
you,
with you.
Yeah, yeah.
then of course, then you're choosing between your spouse and your career, right?
Yeah.
Like, I say, forget it. You can't handle this, so we're going to get a divorce. I mean, I've known friends, that's where it's ended.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Or you say, well, no, I love this person and I'm not willing to put them through this because it is a torment, it's causing them a lot of strife. So I'll get out of the business. So it's so important that you have, if not a spouse, a significant other, family that's saying, yes, you can do this. We believe in you. It's same with family, right? There's a lot of families. I came from an entertainment business family, so they were always supportive. But there's certainly families. I don't know how your families were about it, but
Oh, they were nervous. My mom,
right, because you majored in
moving across,
accounting.
yeah, they didn't quite understand, and that's a generational thing here.
Sure.
They were like, well, you're going to be an accountant the rest of your life.
Yes,
That's
and
not necessarily
security.
true. It's safe, it's secure. They
Yes.
were super nervous for me. They by no means would ever try and stop me from doing anything I wanted to do, but they certainly, were nervous about it. More nervous than I was.
Yeah.
Making the leap and whatnot. Now, Mike and I kind of came out here together, and so I had that support of a friend trying to do the same thing.
That's true.
Break in together. We could talk about. The friends are equally as good. Our lunches are what got me through the day. Often when you can talk to people that have either been through similar circumstances or can at least relate is super
to.
important to vent. Those are instrumental. There's what I'm going to call bitch sessions.
Yeah. Well,
At lunch, you
Basically what this
have to
is.
have that.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's why it's so fun. You got to get it off your chest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To have that support is very
And
important.
you had the support from home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were they nervous? They were nervous
Of
as
course,
well.
nervous
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it's Hollywood. It's,
Yeah, and you're moving 3,500 miles
Yeah.
away, and it was tough for my grandparents when I left. But I mean, they were always very supportive of what I wanted to do and my career and all of that. So they've been a champion behind that, and it's been good.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I think another component, so we've covered a few.
Yeah.
Another component is being willing to take,
Oh, being flexible.
being flexible.
Yes.
Like, I've learned just to say yes for the most part.
Yeah.
Like
and
I say, the only genre I have not done and probably will not do is pornography. But I've written for just about.
I was going to say you've done
Never say never.
animation. Well, yeah, they're
But
getting
no,
more.
from reality. Yeah, I mean,
There's getting some more story. Well,
Poor
welcome
Things
Poor
twice.
Things, basically.
saying,
Yeah,
I could have,
yeah.
won
Poor
I could have
Things
been
too.
nominated. Damn it! But
You just
yeah,
got to add a little bit of a story to it.
right? I mean, I never thought I'd go into animation, education,
Sure.
with
Yeah.
ABC Mouse,
Mhm.
features, thrillers, comedies, dramas, horror.
Yeah, you
Like
kind of did a little bit of everything.
At a certain point, but again, in whatever genre it's in whatever thing, reality TV,
Mhm.
I was my best at it. So I did these. Oh God, I did these at a very desperate time, right? Where we really needed the money, and it was after the strike. Or might have even been during the strike. Not this last one, but the previous
Okay.
Writers Guild strike. Yeah, in fact, it was. I'm pretty sure of 2008. Gaiam Entertainment did these knockoffs, these animated knockoffs. So instead of Kung Fu Panda, they wanted to
my.
do Chop Kick Panda.
Oh,
Instead of Happy Feet, I did Tappy Toes.
wow.
It was $5,000, a script, 45 minutes script, and I wrote the best Tappy Toes
That you could
I
write.
could write.
And they're
I
still
wrote
on
the
sale
best-
now. You can
they're
go and
still
buy
on
them.
sale.
There we go.
In fact, this is God honest truth. Sophie, my 21, soon to be 21-year-old, by the time this airs, will be. Actually, on Sunday, she is. Daughter, her friend, they were kind of talking about asking what credits, and they looked me up on IMDb. And he's like, wait a minute, one of her friends, did your dad really write Chop Kick Panda? And she's like, yes. He's like, my little brother loves it. Like, we had the DVD, will he sign it? And I'm like, is he sure it's not Kung Fu Panda?
Right.
Because there's a fourth one
Yes.
coming out.
She's
yeah.
like, no, he swears. But anyways, and the budget was so low on these, as you know.
Yeah.
I was told we can't really have any action. So we're doing a ripoff of Kung Fu Panda where there can be actually no Kung
No
Fu.
action. Yeah.
So they're like 45-minute radio plays, basically. But anyways,
It got you through it.
it got me through it. You know, I was able to keep working.
How which is topical because of actually some drama. I'm going to work this in drama with the holdovers script. When this airs, I don't know what'll have been resolved about that.
Probably won't be.
But you know, obviously that's a different. They're saying it was a complete ripoff, but this was a legal reimagination of this, right? This chop kick, like it was almost not quite a parody.
Yeah, it's
But
interesting.
how did they explain to you anything about how close you can come to the plot of the other one without getting in trouble, or did they kind of
They
just
didn't, but I'll tell you, the only similarity that I remember, because I wrote it and never looked back, is it's a panda, but he
okay?
owns a dojo,
Okay.
and he has a son that he's teaching.
And
Maybe the
everything
son
else-
isn't great. It's like the
okay.
Bad News Bears of Karate Kids
Okay.
or something. It was very. I think they wanted it to be distant. We also did a Puss in Boots,
Oh,
which
wow.
was called Puss in Boots,
Okay.
because that's public domain. So
I
that was
see.
able to kind of
Okay.
follow the same. But even that was quite different from the movie. Yeah.
Did you now you might not remember, but like you wrote an actual like several like legitimate movies.
yeah.
How long did it take? Because I know your writing style is to go away and focus on it to write.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write Tappy Toes
Tappy Toes.
or Chop Kick?
Probably a couple days.
Okay,
3
just
days.
crank it out like that.
Yeah, well, also because the limitations were almost helpful. It literally was a radio play.
Okay.
So it was very dialogue intensive. So it was kind of not stream of consciousness, but you have a lot of
So
dialogue.
you were
on-
limited so much that you only have one path to go
Yeah,
down.
I mean, there's only it was renegade animation. You only had so many sets. You only had so many. They told you how many characters. It was
Yeah.
it was waist down. It was like
Right.
as many talking heads as you can have. So yeah, but that was not my low.
Okay. What's your
Actually,
low?
Shop Kick Panda was like middling. So unable to get any work at all, I reached out to another writer friend, Trish Baker, who had gotten into reality TV.
Oh.
Before it was a big thing, she was actually on The Osbournes.
Oh, by the
was-
far, my favorite, and probably
The original reality.
Yeah,
right?
basically.
The original reality,
Yeah.
where they just shot hours and hours and hours, and she kind of was one of the people that pieced together a show from just this footage. And I reached out to her and I said, this again was during the strike, I'll do anything. Like
Right.
I know I'm not in reality TV. I don't know anything about it, and so she was on a show called Chef Academy for Bravo.
Oh.
And she said, I'm almost embarrassed to offer you this. It's a night logger. So from midnight to 8 a.m., you just log footage. And I think it was $600 a week. Now, I just turned 40. I've just probably written Tappy Toes. I'm now, offered it. And I said, I will take it.
Wow.
Again, don't say no. Right now,
Right.
I could have gotten out and just pursued something else. But, did it. So anyways, I did start night logging. I actually enjoyed it. There's nobody there. You're just watching footage and kind of logging. This happens, that happens.
Okay.
This is a dramatic moment.
It sounds
for
fun.
for the story producers and for the editors. About 2 weeks in, the line producer, his name was Volney, comes to me and he says, "Can I talk to you?" He stayed until I came in at midnight. He's normally not there. He says, "I was looking at your resume." He goes, "You wrote Halloween H2O?" And I said, yeah, I did. He says, "Why are you here?
Right.
What are you doing?" I said, "I need the money."
Yeah.
He goes, "I can't in good conscience have you doing this. I'm going to at least move you to days.
Oh, nice.
And then let's see if I can find a story producer slot for you." So I went to days. And then maybe after a couple more weeks, he says, "Why don't you move up to story producer and actually form the story of the reality show? You're working with the editors." And then from there, from that opportunity, he went on to a show called Nitro Circus for MTV. I was a story producer on that. And then that same group of people also produced the Jackass series.
Oh,
They
nice.
went on to do Jackass 3D, and they brought me on to that as a segment producer.
Oh,
And that was
wow.
over a year and a half on that job.
Wow.
So by saying yes to a night logger position that paid $600 a week,
Wow.
started that domino, ended up again being the best night logger I could be.
You could do, yeah.
And I was, because I thought if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be the best. In fact, the other night loggers came to me and said, "You got to knock it off." They were like in their 20s. You're logging 8 tapes a night. We're doing 4 and taking naps. Like,
I was going to say going for coffee or
like,
something.
come on. I'm like, dude, sorry. Like, this is what I do.
Get it
So,
done.
Yeah.
and I'd be interested to know where they're at, frankly.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
an
I mean,
interesting
hopefully
thing,
they were
And you're
able
in your
to
freaking 20s.
Yeah.
I'm 40,
Right.
And this is like pre-energy drink. Maybe there's Red Bull then, but there was just coffee but anyway, so
It was
again, it's tenacity. It's
brought
taking
great
what you think's
opportunity
quote
for you.
unquote
Yeah.
beneath you. Doesn't matter what your credits were before.
Mm-hmm.
And you just keep trudging.
Well, with that, so now I have to ask. You explain what a night logger is.
Yes.
A story editor. We all know reality isn't reality, and is that you can confirm that, right?
I can confirm that. Yes.
Okay.
There are some shows that are more reality based, and then the majority of them are soft scripted.
Okay. So the stuff you did as a story editor.
Yes.
What did you do? Did you actually come up with the story, or did you just take
Okay.
what you had and form it?
Depends.
Okay.
On Chef Academy, that was a little more, because it was like a Top Chef.
Okay.
But it was this French chef, Chef Novelli. He was Italian. Anyways. So that was a little more of a competition. So that they just filmed a lot of footage, and you, as a story producer, would take those and find an A line, a B line, a B story, and kind of put that together with the editors.
Okay.
But on a show like Big Rich Texas, which I did for Style Network, which went 3 seasons,
Wow.
that was called soft scripted.
Okay.
And so you would go and you would script out with the other story producers and the executive producer on cards the entire season.
Okay.
Right? Like, so this person, they're best friends, and then they get a fight over this, and then they end up at this event at the country club, and then they throw cake in the face, and then blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But what ends up happening, this is what was fascinating, you have to be very agile, because you would say, they really are good friends. And then they'd be like, okay, before you run, this is where you guys fight about X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
They would fight about they'd improv.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then they'd really get pissed off at each other, right? They'd say things they shouldn't say. So you say, okay, in this episode, you guys make up. They'd be like, fuck her. I'm not making up with that bitch. So then you have to pivot. You're like, oh, they
Right.
don't make up. So it's like, is it the cart or the horse type thing?
Okay.
Interesting.
And then you're also, as a story producer, working very tightly with the editors, which I love because my dad was an editor. I just love being in the Bay.
Mm-hmm.
You do what's called a string out. So you're working on Avid or Adobe Premiere. You're taking all the footage and you're doing, say, maybe a 10-minute string out
Mm-hmm.
of the footage for a scene.
And that's hard to do.
I loved it.
Well,
But yes. And then the editor takes
Yeah.
that 10 minutes and has to put it into 3.
wow. Okay.
And you're picking the best takes and what you kind of think the flow of the scene is. And then these editors, which, the experts at what they do, obviously. And then you're also writing bites. So, when they'll cut to basically a scenario like this and they're sitting there and they're commenting on what you're seeing.
Right.
In my experience, those are all written.
Oh,
and
that
when
makes
do they
sense.
for the
film
people.
those? Are the people watching the
After.
scenes? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
they're actually
They're
watching
either
what's
watching it, they'll
happening.
either show them a clip or they'll tell them.
Okay.
Or since it's soft scripted, they know what's happened.
Sure. Okay.
And what would happen is you would say, I didn't like being on the set with them. A lot of story producers like to go and if it was your episode, sit there with them and say, okay, now this line you're going to say, she was such a bitch. I wanted to slap her. I didn't like doing that because they would get I would never say that. They would get, which I get. You don't
Right.
want words put in your mouth, but you have to get this bite to make it work, right? So you as a story producer, but you got to say that because that's what
Otherwise,
makes
my
it work.
story is
Yeah.
predicated on this. Yeah.
So you would say, well, what would you say? And then it's never quite as quippy or funny.
Right.
Now, I imagine the people who've done it for years and years, like a Housewives show that's gone on for 8-10 years, they become pros and they just do their own thing. They've got their own personality. But yeah, it was.
Interesting.
I actually love reality TV.
I know you were talking to my parents about it the one time we were all having lunch together,
Yeah.
and they were sharing because I don't. I love the Osbournes. I watched the first 2 seasons of Survivor, and I maybe watched the first season of American Idol, and then I checked out of reality TV. Not
It's
that there's any-
almost all we watch.
yeah,
I don't know, and I know, like you're saying, and I know that it's.
I don't have any moral thing against it. I just lost interest
Not
in it.
real per se,
No,
but it's just
yeah.
easy watching.
authenticity to it though, because like you said,
There
they're
is.
real best friends or whatever.
Or
you're
like
saying.
Little People, Big World, which is one that Pam and I watch
Okay.
a lot. It's 25 seasons now. Like that,
Man,
that's
crazy.
actual thing. I don't believe that was scripted. I can't say for sure, but
Right.
there's real divorce. There's real family dynamics that aren't scripted.
Yeah,
That's happening.
I think for me, I got out of that type of reality television because it was like an hour long. I prefer getting I switched to the YouTube model. I watch my reality TV. I got into like vlogs, Casey Neistat. It's a 5 to 15 minute reality show that I can just digest it much. I mean, I guess it's my attention span. I don't like to admit that I'm faulty and lose attention span, but I guess it is because my window for that type of entertainment, reality type things, is 5 to 15 minutes. So the vlogs and the YouTube stars, Casey Neistat, Roman Atwood, not when he did the prank stuff, but when he started vlogging about his life, was very interesting to me, and it felt very real, even though they scripted, and David Dobrik too. His was it was like a reality show. He was very scripted without
David
being scripted.
Dobrik, definitely, yeah.
But he made it feel like it was a vlog, but it really was just bits he was doing. But he kept it under 5 minutes, so it was easy for me to digest. So I left the TV reality world for the reality world on YouTube. I think that's where I found
That's what
my
Pam
home.
does, by the way, as well. She watches some woman who has a chateau in France or something and has millions of subscribers. Watch her just kind of.
Well, speaking of millions of subscribers, the one I watched this morning was a guy mowing a lawn. You don't know how entertaining that is.
That is. Well,
It's
the
very
guy,
satisfying.
Wait,
Yeah,
is it the
million-
guy who will go up to strangers' houses and say, "I'll do it for free"?
Yeah,
Oh,
that guy.
I've
There's
seen
a
him,
couple,
yeah.
There's a
Or the
couple of
pressure
them.
washing guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, he's the
pressure
same
washing,
guy.
Oh,
like
it's so satisfying.
cleaning the carpets. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so good.
Okay, but Mike, so you've been in it as long, right? You guys are 11 years. What have we missed as far as staying in it? If you had advice to someone because we talked about getting in it,
Yep.
and how do you stay in it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've touched on a lot of them. I would say working with difficult personalities, and everybody can be a difficult personality. It depends on the day, what you've been through.
I've
And I think-
apologized already for those times.
I think it's being empathetic and being understanding of where the other person is coming from. And I think you said it earlier too, Robert, when you were like, everybody wants the best script or everybody wants to make the best movie. And wherever their place is coming from with their notes, we can take it harder or not. But I think it's all hopefully coming from a truly good place of wanting the best. And so being able to digest it, like you said, and kind of step away from it. It's not this visceral reaction. It's not this initial, oh, but you don't understand. How dare you? Then you can process that, knowing, of course, that they want the best product. And when you come back with that fresh set of mind, you can say, oh, well, how about we try this? Because and you really
Yes.
can connect with that person. And I
Yes.
think that smooths things over. So it's building that empathy, building that understanding of where everybody's coming from.
And as we talked in a previous podcast, you talk about building those relationships and the networking, how important that is to staying in, because
Yep.
those connections can come into play years later.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it did with me and Trish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. You need to maintain them, even if it's just to say hi.
Yeah, always, yeah.
That's just the best thing. It's A, a nice thing to do, and B, you never know when either of you could benefit from
and try to
from that
help others,
relationship,
like
yeah.
for me personally, it's like helping other people is what I like to do. Even when I go to work, like that's how I approach work. I'm like, what can I do to help people today to make the best whatever it is, or to do the best job that I could do, like being the best PA or being the best whatever. It's like, what is the best way that I can help this person, and how can I amplify what they're looking to do, what direction they're looking to go. And I think when you have that outlook and you're able to help people, it's going to come back to you tenfold, I feel. I don't do it for those reasons.
Right.
I truly do it because I genuinely want to help everybody that I keep in my circle. But I think
It pays dividends.
I truly think it pays dividends. It comes back to you when you need it most. And that's important.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now,
We can wrap it up. I want to
I
say
know, I
one more
can't believe
thing.
it's already been-
I want to say one more thing for Mike. I know it was important to you. Work-life balance is also
Oh.
important.
Yeah,
Just,
work-life balance is a big
being
thing.
able to no matter how creative the medium is, to be able to take some time away from it at night to focus on either friends, family, or yourself,
Yes.
to be able to be fresh and come in the next day will keep you from getting burned out. So for longevity,
Yeah.
to avoid burnout is really finding that balance. By no means don't be willing to work hard when you need to work hard.
Sure.
But when there are times that you can take that balance, take advantage of it to refresh.
Yeah,
Work
make
hard when you
decisions
need
for
to,
yourself.
and then take yourself out of it. Because when you plug back in, your ideas will be so much fresher
Yeah.
and better than if you just stayed up all night thinking about it.
Yeah, I fell trap to a lot of that. There were a lot of nights where I would stay up and just constantly, I can't lose this idea. If I go to bed now, I'm not going to be able to think about this, or I'm not going to be able to do it the same way that I'm doing now. And like you said, yeah, you need to rest your mind. That's where you get better ideas, because you're more fresh. And yeah, I mean, work-life balance is critically important, and I think so many people need to understand that, especially people who, like, I itch to work. That's just in my DNA. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to be thinking and creating, but I need to slow down and be more in the present moment. It's cost me a lot of things with my health and just my life. And so, especially over the last couple of years, it's been much more focused in the present moment as much as I can. I'm guilty of still living in the future and still thinking of the past, but I'm getting much, much better at looking at the present moment. And I think that's important for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think it's, like you said, it's just an ever evolving thing. I'm terrible with it.
Yeah.
Work-life balance, terrible.
It's hard.
Well, it's something you got to work on, and it's going to plague everybody till the end. But for advice, if you're thinking about it, just try and do it if you can. Keep that balance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Well, let's do our question of the week from our, film and communication students. This episode, we have a question from Grant. What do you wish you knew when you first started?
I mean, I think what we talked about
Yeah.
this whole episode is
Yeah.
really, what I wish I would have known before I started. And a lot of what we talked about is just part of who I am, I think, in a lot of ways, but it's been amplified through the time and being here. I think, primarily being that networking component, that relationship building component for me. I think that's the most important thing, and where your effort should be spent.
Yeah, I mean, just listen to advice. Robert, you've been a great mentor to Mike and I.
Yeah.
We don't have to go through it because you told us the story about it. I now know to be receptive to people that's probably going to help me. So that's, you need to know that when you get started, is just kind of watch a podcast like this, or look for advice, take advice when people give it to you.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't take the advice, but at least listen to
it and sit with it.
Sure.
And don't be afraid to dig into things too. I think a lot of times we get scared, especially in the creative mindset. Like, I'm not a graphic designer by any means, but I'll play around with Canva and I'll start doubting myself and being like, don't be afraid to dig in there. Do things, make the things. It doesn't matter if it's perfect or not. Just get it out there. And then you're only going to keep getting better from as you go. But don't fear putting something out there because it's not perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect.
And that, from a writing point of view, they always say you can't rewrite a blank page, right? So you have to put it down.
Something needs to be
get
there.
something down, and don't just keep rewriting the first 10 pages. Get a draft, and you can always rewrite. Yeah.
If you're going to write something, get it out there. If you want to be a photographer, take pictures.
Yes.
Do it.
You're not going to be
Don't
a
just
photographer.
talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
that's a
can't
big
just
one.
talk about
Although
it.
that's not, I would say to that question, it was definitely be receptive.
Yeah.
Just in general, be receptive.
Great.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, do the like, subscribe, share, that sort of stuff, whatever the thing on the screen. We'll say what
Comment.
to do. Yeah, comment.
Yeah,
please give
please
us comments, constructive criticism if you feel like it, but preferably some thoughts of compliments and whatnot.
Future
Yeah,
things you want to
what
hear
do you
about.
want to
yes,
hear
but
about?
you don't
feel
wanna hear
free.
about?
Yeah, exactly. If this one was boring, let us know. We won't talk about that anymore. So thanks everybody for tuning in. And Mike, again, I think
I finished mine again.
Boy,
Damn it.
this is a trend.
Yeah. All right.
Derek,
Well,
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mostly because I'm
Cheers.
thirsty.
Yeah.
Can we be friends?